The story begins with a man falling from above and crashing into a swimming pool. His head hits the bottom hard, and just when he thinks he is about to die, a woman swims toward him. She holds his face and presses her mouth against his, as if she is trying to pull him back from the edge. When the man opens his eyes again, he is no longer in the same world. Everything around him looks ancient and unfamiliar. He touches his body and immediately realizes something is wrong. His muscles are gone. Then he checks lower and freezes. Something very important is missing. He drags himself toward a mirror, and the reflection staring back at him is not a man at all. It is a woman. No matter how many times he looks, it is still a woman. At first, he convinces himself this must be a dream. Once he wakes up, everything will return to normal. But then a maid rushes in and shouts that Her Majesty has finally awakened. The man panics and backs away, but the maid runs forward and hugs him. For one brief second, he thinks this dream might not be so bad. Then she forces bitter medicine into his mouth, and the taste is far too real. Now he knows this is not an ordinary dream. He sneaks outside, only to see rows of palace servants kneeling before him. A modern man has never seen anything like this, so he turns and runs. The court ladies chase after him, shouting that Her Majesty has only just recovered and should not run so fast. He reaches the courtyard, surrounded by old buildings that feel completely unreal. Then he suddenly stops. The servants behind him crash into one another. He checks again. Still gone. This time, he truly breaks down. After calming himself, he finally understands the basic situation. His soul has crossed into the body of this woman. If he wants to return to his own body, he needs to figure out what happened to her first. He asks the maid what happened to him. The maid explains that last night, Her Majesty went out alone and fell into the lake. After waking up, she became like this. That word gives him hope. Water. He runs straight to the lake. Before the palace women can react, he sprints across the bridge, steps onto a stone, and jumps. But the lake has almost no water. Instead of returning to his own body, he lands painfully in the mud. He plans to crawl back in shame and think of another way, but the leading court lady gives him an even worse piece of news. The investiture ceremony will be held the next day. He is about to become the queen. The man collapses inside. It is bad enough that he has become a woman. Now he has to marry the king of Joseon. Two men getting married is definitely not part of his plan. At that moment, King Kyeoljong is leisurely reading in a pavilion. He is handsome and elegant, the kind of king people would call charming at first glance. When Kyeoljong hears that the queen has recovered, he has her brought over. The man inside Queen Kim So-yong's body immediately asks Kyeoljong to refill the lake. But Kyeoljong says the order came from Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon, and he cannot disobey her. He also claims the decision is right. No matter how much the queen begs, Kyeoljong refuses. The queen gets furious. If she cannot rely on others, she will rely on herself. From that moment on, whenever she sees water, she runs toward it. Dirty water, bath water, rainwater in the courtyard, she refuses to let any possible route home pass by. Because inside Queen So-yong's body is the soul of a man from the 21st century. His name is Jang Bong-hwan. In modern Korea, Bong-hwan is a top chef who works at the Blue House. During an international banquet, a foreign guest finds a fishhook in one of his dishes, and Bong-hwan gets dragged into a serious scandal. While fleeing from people trying to catch him, he falls into a swimming pool, and that is how his soul lands hundreds of years in the past inside Queen So-yong. After every attempt to return fails, Bong-hwan has no choice but to stay for now. But if he wants to survive, he has to understand where he is. He asks Court Lady Choi about the current king and learns that the ruler is Kyeoljong. Kyeoljong appears soon after and tells the queen that once tomorrow's ceremony is over, she will officially be his queen. The queen is horrified. If she becomes the queen, does that mean they have to share a wedding night? Her body is female, but her soul is still Bong-hwan. How is he supposed to handle that? So the queen decides to tell Kyeoljong the truth. She explains everything, but one look at Kyeoljong's face says he does not believe a word. Not only does he dismiss her story, he thinks she must be seriously ill and orders the royal physician to treat her. The queen refuses to cooperate, but no matter how much she struggles, the investiture ceremony still happens the next day. At dawn, she is dragged out of bed and dressed in layer after layer of court clothing. By the time all the formal garments are on, she feels like she can barely breathe. The heavy phoenix crown bends her neck under its weight. Court Lady Choi tells her that she must bear that weight. During the ceremony, Kyeoljong and the queen walk the red carpet together. The queen flashes a sly smile and shakes her shoulders. She has secretly loosened some of the binding under the formal clothes, making the ceremony just barely bearable. When it is time to bow, she refuses to move, so Court Lady Choi has to help push her down. After a long chain of exhausting rituals, the queen finally reaches the only part she likes, the ceremonial wine. She is only supposed to take a small sip. Instead, she lifts the cup and drinks it all. Her bold, reckless style shocks every official in the court. Then night comes, and it is time for the wedding chamber. The queen frantically thinks of ways to escape. When a maid brings wine, she suddenly gets an idea. If she gets Kyeoljong drunk, the night will be over. She pours for him, and Kyeoljong politely drinks. But after one cup, he starts removing his clothes. For a moment, the queen thinks there is no escape. But Kyeoljong simply climbs into bed, tells her to stay away from him, and goes to sleep. The queen is speechless. She did not want the wedding night either, but being rejected so directly still makes her angry. To vent that frustration, she disguises herself as a handsome young man and sneaks out to the most famous pleasure house in the capital. The madam immediately sees that the guest is a woman, but the queen understands the hint and throws down plenty of coins. At her command, beautiful women enter the room one after another. The queen is delighted. For a while, it feels like Bong-hwan has returned to his glory days. After drinking too much, the queen forgets she is in a woman's body and stumbles into the men's side. Only while trying to use the bathroom does she remember the painful truth. Looking at the men around her, she is filled with envy. Once, Bong-hwan had the kind of confident male body that attracted countless women. Now he is trapped like this. While the queen is busy grieving over her lost body, Kyeoljong is also at the pleasure house, meeting with his trusted people. He is secretly planning how to take political power back from Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon. Then the drunken queen stumbles into the wrong room. Behind a curtain, she sees only a blurry figure, but everyone inside becomes tense. The curfew bell rings, and the queen curses before running away. Kyeoljong is not sure whether she heard their secret conversation. To avoid future trouble, he decides to eliminate her. The queen, completely misunderstanding the situation, thinks this masked man is trying to rob her. She pulls out her coins and offers them to him. Kyeoljong is bewildered. This woman clearly has no idea what danger she is in. Before he can act, a sword flies in and knocks away his veil. A man rushes in and fights him. The queen hides on the side while Kyeoljong covers his face so he will not be recognized. Because of that, his movements become restricted. Luckily, Kyeoljong's ally arrives and secretly attacks the man with a tile, giving Kyeoljong a chance to escape. The man picks up the fallen veil. He is Kim Beong-in, the queen's adopted cousin, and he has long carried feelings for So-yong. He escorts the drunken queen back to the palace. The next morning, the queen remembers nothing. She only has a brutal hangover and a desperate craving for hot instant noodles. She orders the royal kitchen to make it, but royal chef Man-bok does not take her seriously. To him, noodles are simple. He kneads dough, cuts noodles, cooks them in broth, adds toppings, and thinks he has made something perfect. But that is not what the queen wants. After trying version after version, nothing satisfies her. Man-bok finally gets angry and says if she wants to eat it so badly, she should make it herself. Fine. The soul inside the queen is a 21st century master chef. Making instant noodles is nothing. She spins the knife, cuts vegetables with practiced skill, wraps noodles around chopsticks, shapes them in oil, and creates her own flavor packet. Soon, a perfect bowl of ramyeon is ready. Even the royal chef has to admit defeat. Then the queen gets an idea. If she can win over Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon with delicious food, maybe Sunwon will order the lake refilled, and the queen can finally return to the modern world. But the royal kitchen cannot have two tigers on one mountain. Man-bok is not willing to let the queen dominate his territory, so the two begin a cooking contest. Man-bok rushes around in panic, while the queen stays calm and focused. Within minutes, the queen finishes first. After everyone tastes the food, there is no question. Her cooking is better. The queen arrogantly declares victory, and Man-bok can only swallow his anger. Now she prepares a meal for Sunwon. She upgrades the oven, orders every bit of oil in the palace kitchen, and makes the kitchen staff watch in horror as she uses ingredients like they are nothing. She cuts beef, prepares fish, brushes everything with oil, seasons it, and slow cooks the beef overnight so the meat stays soft and tender. The queen stays beside the stove all night. By morning, the dish is ready. Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon has been suffering from tooth pain and cannot eat much. But when she hears that the queen spent an entire night cooking for her and sees how beautiful the dish looks, she decides to taste it. The queen waits anxiously. Then Sunwon arrives in fury. At first, it looks like disaster. But the truth is that the food is too good. The flavor moves Sunwon deeply. She praises the dish nonstop until even the queen feels embarrassed. The queen quickly says the food can also help maintain health and beauty. Sunwon is delighted and agrees on the spot to refill the lake. In ancient times, filling a lake is not easy. Servants have to carry water bucket by bucket, and even at the fastest pace, it will take around 10 days. The queen cannot wait that long. She creates a relay method to speed up the process. Meanwhile, ever since the Pleasure House incident, K&J has been worried that the queen might know his secret. To test her, he invites her to drink jasmine tea. The carefree queen smells the strong fragrance and suddenly remembers the same scent from the room she stumbled into that night. She also remembers the man who tried to kill her. Even though his face was covered, those eyes were unmistakable. It was K&J. Looking at him now, fear appears in the queen's eyes. She finally realizes she is trapped in a palace full of schemes. If she shows that she knows too much, K&J may really kill her. She pretends to stay calm and lifts the teacup, then suddenly wonders if he poisoned it. Both of them test each other, each hiding a different thought. The queen hands the tea to K&J and says that since he is so concerned about her, he should drink it for her. To her surprise, K&J takes it and drinks. But the queen soon becomes dizzy. K&J has drugged her after all. As he questions her, the half-conscious queen says the man who tried to kill her that night was him. K&J is furious, so she really knows. But the queen also gets angry. She asks how he can try to kill his own wife just because he loves someone else. Only then does K&J realize she does not understand the real reason he wanted to kill her. Her accusation wounds him. He thought killing her was for the greater good, but now he sees the uglier truth. He lacked the confidence to face true power, so he aimed his blade at someone weaker. For the first time, K&J sees himself clearly. He no longer wants innocent people to die because of him. The queen has no interest in palace politics. She only wants to return to the 21st century. But after a whole night of work, there is still barely any water in the lake. She decides to supervise the work herself. The weather is hot, and she suddenly wants an ice-cold drink. In ancient Joseon, there is no modern milk tea shop, so she orders the royal kitchen to improvise. Royal chef Man-bok thinks this is finally his chance to shine. He prepares omija juice, separates the liquid, sweetens it with honey, adds pear and citrus for freshness, and uses herbs and starch to create a refreshing texture. When the queen drinks it, she has to admit it is cool and delicious. Then she sees all the servants and eunuchs working under the burning sun to fill the lake. She orders Man-bok to make the drink for everyone. Man-bok is miserable inside. He is the royal chef, yet somehow he has become the queen's drink vendor. But the servants are deeply grateful. It is their first time tasting such a precious refreshment. The queen thinks they are far too easy to satisfy. While waiting for the lake to fill, Court Lady Choi brings silk thread and tells the queen to pass time with needlework. But the soul inside the queen is still Bong-hwan, and Bong-hwan refuses. To him, needlework is just a fancy way to stab himself in the fingers. Court Lady Choi is prepared and uses stern palace manners to pressure her. The queen gets annoyed and tells her not to be so strict in the future. Then she takes the expensive silk thread and starts playing a string game with Hong Yan. The thread is too thin and snaps quickly. While searching for stronger thread, the queen finds an old piece of embroidery left by the real So-yong. The pattern clearly suggests someone preparing for death. The queen immediately asks Hong Yan whether So-yong was in a bad mood before falling into the lake. Hong Yan admits that So-yong had been depressed, sometimes crying, and had given away her favorite hairpin and ring to Hong Yan and Court Lady Choi. The queen realizes the truth. So-yong was trying to end her own life. But what could have made her so desperate? The queen cannot remember and cannot figure it out. For now, the most important thing is still getting back to the modern world. When she excitedly runs toward the lake, Hong Yan blocks her. Hong Yan refuses to let Her Majesty try to drown herself again. The queen dodges left and right and finally gets close, but Hong-yeon clings to her leg. Then Court Lady Choi arrives too. Unable to beat them, the queen gives up. She sends a eunuch of similar height who can swim into the lake to test whether the water is deep enough. Unfortunately, it is still too shallow. Returning home is harder than she imagined, so the queen goes back to the one weapon she knows best: cooking. With one push of a knife, potatoes fall in neat rows. The people around her cheer as she chops them into perfect pieces. Man-bok watches with frustration. In his own kitchen, he has neither authority nor pride left. Since tasting the queen's food, Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon can no longer enjoy anyone else's cooking. Even in the middle of the night, she demands the same dishes. Man-bok is confident at first, but when he tries to recreate the queen's food, nothing goes right. The seasoning is wrong, the texture is wrong, even the milk supply in the capital is practically exhausted. He nearly loses the will to live. Then the queen returns to the palace and prepares another meal to please Sunwon. This time, she makes a commoner's soup rice with oxtail broth, beef, vegetables, and egg foam. When Sunwon sees a bowl of food that ordinary people eat, she is angry and refuses. But hunger wins, and she reluctantly tastes one bite. The flavor brings back memories of the soup rice her mother made when she was young. Seeing Sunwon sink into nostalgia, the queen knows she has completely captured her heart. Then she goes even further. She gives Sunwon dramatic makeup, making her feel 20 years younger, and introduces her to a dark hair cosmetic that does not need to be applied like ordinary dye. Sunwon is overjoyed. The queen is doing all this because she has a new grand project, choosing concubines for the king. She activates her inner radar and begins sending signals of interest to every beautiful candidate. Court Lady Choi tells her that the highest quality women in the country are gathered here. The queen thinks that what belongs to the king should also belong to her, so she happily greets every young lady and selects the ones who fit her taste. She imagines a future palace full of beautiful women and cannot stop smiling. While the queen is enjoying herself, Kil-jong is frustrated. The secret ledger he hid in a well has disappeared. He never expects that the ledger was taken by Jo Hwa-jin, the woman he once loved. Hwa-jin originally meant to give the ledger to Kil-jong, but when she sees him and the queen playing by the lake, jealousy changes her mind. She gives the ledger to Queen Dowager Jo and asks her to use it to depose the queen. Queen Dowager Jo has her own plan. She wants to reveal the ledger at the Dano Festival and use it to drag down Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon, who has always stood above her. Since Kil-jong cannot find the ledger, he uses the concubine selection to build connections with powerful families. When he sees the three women the queen carefully selected, he is thinking about political influence. The queen, of course, is thinking about beautiful women. The new candidates invite the queen to play shuttlecock. The queen cannot miss a chance to show off. She strikes cool poses, performs flashy moves, and sends the women screaming with excitement. That night, the queen cannot sleep. She decides to send messages to the women she likes. As a veteran flirt from the modern world, Bong-hwan writes 3 letters and has Hong-yeon send them out. He also wants to know whether Kil-jong has taken interest in any of the candidates. But by mistake, the letters are delivered to Kil-jong. The queen waits so long for a reply that she almost falls asleep. Finally, one response arrives. She opens it and is stunned. The letter is elegant, intelligent, and full of literary talent. Not wanting to lose, she uses everything she knows to write a long reply. The two exchange letters all night, not knowing they are writing to each other. The poor messenger suffers the most. The next day, Kil-jong is happy to see the queen, but she ignores him and walks away, leaving him confused. Soon, Kil-jong turns back to planning the Dano banquet with the royal kitchen. But behind this festival, an assassination is already forming. The hunting contest at the festival is absurd and cruel. Palace maids and eunuchs act as prey, with name tags representing animals. The more dangerous the animal, the higher the score. When the signal is given, the servants scatter, and the concubines chase them to earn points. The queen has no interest in this activity. She finds a tree and tries to nap. Then she discovers a eunuch hiding behind it. He is pretending to be a tiger, the highest scoring prey, because he knows getting shot by arrows hurts. The queen tries to comfort him, but he realizes that if someone has to mark him, it might as well be her. He tells her to press the stamp on his back. The officials are amazed that the queen captured the tiger so quickly and praise her archery. The eunuch exaggerates wildly to help her, while Queen Dowager Jo watches with visible irritation. Jo Hwajin is also not interested in the game, but unlike the others, she is carrying a real arrowhead. She plans to use the hunting game to kill the queen. Soon, she finds the queen alone. The queen sees the arrow and drops the fruit in her hands from fear. Hwajin draws the bow, aims, and shoots. The queen barely escapes. She is shaken and furious. She once liked Hwajin, but now she decides to cut that woman out of her heart completely. When other concubines arrive chasing prey, Hwajin cannot kill the queen, but she still gives her a harsh lesson by shooting her in the head with a blunt arrow. The queen drops to her knees. Now she is truly angry. The other women want to confront Hwajin, but Hwajin simply walks past them without caring. The queen decides to pay her back, but the situation turns ridiculous. When the results are announced, everyone else has 4 or 5 points, while the queen has 10. The whole court is shocked. The queen is embarrassed because her victory is obviously not earned, but Sunwon proudly gives her the prize. Queen Dowager Jo is furious enough to twist her face. Meanwhile, the ingredients for the Dano banquet have been destroyed, and the kitchen staff are sick with stomach trouble. Seeing Kyeoljong struggling but refusing to give up, the queen softens and decides to help him. She transforms into a chef again. When she sees the huge medical needles in the physician's hands, she gets a brilliant idea: skewered tornado potatoes. The royal physician panics when the potatoes enter the oil, but soon golden potato skewers are ready. They have food now, but not enough workers. Manbok drags the heartbroken physician into the kitchen. Then everyone who enters gets pulled in too. With enough hands, the queen directs the kitchen like a modern commander. Outside, the banquet becomes unbearably awkward. Some officials have been fasting since the previous day to enjoy the festival food, but nothing arrives. Prince Yongpyong reports that bandits destroyed the ingredients on the road. Kyeoljong's heart sinks. Then palace maids appear with trays. When the officials see potato skewers, they look disgusted. But after one bite, they cannot stop eating. That is how fast a face can be slapped by flavor. The queen prepares the second dish with sweet potato, zucchini, eggplant, meat broth, and egg, serving it in hollowed tomatoes. It is creative, and the presentation feels almost modern. When the dish arrives, the officials no longer complain. They start eating immediately. The final dessert looks ordinary at first, like a common Yangang sweet. But Kyeoljong explains that it is easy to eat and includes a fortune written on the stick, turning the dessert into a playful experience. The banquet ends perfectly. Kyeoljong walks to the altar to pray for the people. But the moment he places the incense, he collapses to the ground, covered in wounds. The queen tries to rush forward, but the guards stop her. The accident shocks everyone. Most people believe Kim Jwa-gun is behind the attack. Even Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon thinks so and explodes at him. Kim Jwa-gun cannot defend himself. To find the truth, Kim Beong-in brutally interrogates Kyeoljong's guards but learns nothing. Only traces of gunpowder are found at the scene. Kyeoljong is wrapped tightly in bandages. After some time, he wakes, but everyone soon realizes he cannot see. The queen and the concubines come to visit him. Hwajin blames everything on the queen and asks her to stay away from Kyeoljong. The queen also suspects the Kim clan may be involved and cannot defend herself, so she leaves. Unable to sleep, she makes carrot porridge in the kitchen early the next morning. Manbok eagerly asks how to make it, and she explains while he writes down every detail, no longer acting like the arrogant chef from before. After hearing the complicated process, he is deeply moved. He believes Kyeoljong will recover as soon as he eats it. But the queen says it is actually for herself. At court, the ministers argue fiercely and accuse Kim Jwa-gun of trying to murder the king. Then the doors open. Kyeoljong walks in. The officials stare in disbelief as he sits on the throne. Now the performance begins. This entire incident was planned by Kyeoljong. Before the ceremony, he secretly prepared the explosives. He also had people gather proof that members of the Kim clan had bought and moved gunpowder. Kyeoljong risked his own life to create a trap that would strike the Kim clan. In court, he removes Kim Jwa-gun and several Kim officials from their positions. He also takes back Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon's power to rule from behind the curtain. From this moment, Kyeoljong finally becomes the real king. The queen, unaware that Kyeoljong has already awakened, is thinking about her own escape route. When she hears the news, she is relieved and cries with happiness. To celebrate Kil-jong's recovery, she goes alone to the kitchen and starts drinking. This becomes a serious problem. After too much alcohol, she mistakes Kil-jong for Hong-yeon. One thing leads to another, and the two finally have a real wedding night. The next morning, the queen wakes up and demands that Kil-jong honestly explain what happened. Kil-jong begins describing it with a serious face, but after only a few words, the queen cannot take it anymore. She runs out screaming for Hong-yeon, asking what she should do now. In her mind, everything has gone completely wrong. From that day on, the queen feels like she has been contaminated by confusion. Part of her wants to die from embarrassment, but another part is not ready to give up living. The two emotions torture her until she nearly loses her mind. Court Lady Choi and Hong-yeon can only watch helplessly. When Kil-jong visits, the queen disappears instantly. Kil-jong is frustrated, but the queen is busy fighting with herself. She decides that the real Kim So-yong must be influencing her. Whenever she hears Kil-jong nearby, she runs away. Then she sees the concubines she once liked and tries to approach them to prove she is still herself. But Kil-jong appears again, as if he is everywhere. To prove she has not changed, the queen arranges to meet the woman she has been secretly exchanging letters with. But when she turns around, it is Kil-jong. After arguing, both of them finally understand that they have been writing to each other. The queen's last hope is shattered. To calm her anger, Kil-jong pulls her into his arms. At that moment, her heart starts beating faster again. Kil-jong confesses his feelings with deep sincerity, but the queen falls into even deeper self-doubt. While she is trying to understand herself, Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon invites her to drink a cold beverage. The queen does not know the drink has been poisoned. Right before she drinks it, a young court maid suddenly appears and throws a stone at her. Kil-jong rushes in and asks if she is all right. Sunwon orders the little court maid thrown into prison. Kil-jong tells the queen the truth. Sunwon poisoned the drink because she wants to kill her. The queen cannot understand why Sunwon would turn against her. Kil-jong explains that the queen helped him succeed at the banquet, and a ledger recording the Kim clan's crimes was found in her quarters. Queen Dowager Jo secretly planted the ledger there while the queen was away, trying to make Sunwon and the queen destroy each other. Sunwon believes the queen betrayed the Kim clan, so she tried to poison her. The queen realizes the young maid saved her life. That night, she secretly visits the prison and tries to comfort the girl. But before the queen can find a way to save her, the child is forced to drink poison and die. When the queen arrives, she sees only the girl lying on the floor. The queen is furious and wants to confront Sunwon, but Kil-jong holds her back. Through tears, she curses him for stopping her. Kil-jong seems unmoved and turns away, but his hand makes a small signal. The queen suddenly remembers. This is the secret sign they agreed on. It means whatever he is saying right now is a lie. She understands. The performance is about to begin. Back in her chambers, the queen thinks through everything overnight. By morning, she is dressed in elegant makeup, expensive jewelry, and a magnificent outfit. She is ready for revenge. In the first round, she brings Sunwon the same poisoned cold drink Sunwon once gave her. Sunwon does not react, so the queen stands up, raises the cup, and drinks it herself in one shot. Sunwon is stunned. The queen makes it clear that she is not afraid. In the second round, the queen goes to Queen Dowager Jo. She walks directly to the altar of Jo's beloved son, lights incense, and exposes the truth. Jo planted the ledger in the queen's room to frame her. Jo refuses to admit it and insults the queen. The queen smashes all the incense onto the altar and warns Jo to be careful from now on. Jo tries to resist, but the queen's pressure forces her to pull back. In the final round, the queen faces Jo Hwa-jin, the woman she once liked. The queen does not waste many words. She walks toward Hwa-jin, and Hwa-jin retreats step by step. Panicking, Hwa-jin slips and nearly falls. The queen grabs her instinctively. Hwa-jin suddenly lets go, but the queen's first reaction is still to save her. After pulling Hwa-jin back, the queen tells her what needs to be said and walks away. 3 battles. 3 victories. But revenge does not feel as satisfying as she expected. The queen's true revenge begins only afterward. She decides to focus on real work. She will join hands with Kil-jong and fight the Kim clan that has hurt her. Kil-jong is more than willing. The two form an alliance and drink tea as if it were wine. But the way they cross arms does not look like a normal political pact. Court Lady Choi sees through everything. That night, the queen cannot sleep and goes to find Kil-jong to discuss strategy, but she accidentally sees him changing clothes. After 3 seconds of eye contact, she retreats in panic. Soon after, she returns with a bowl of ramyeon. Kil-jong has no idea what she is trying to do, and his innocence ruins the mood. The queen gives up and eats the noodles herself while Kil-jong reads military texts. Watching him study so seriously, the queen knows history is not supposed to change. Even so, she decides to help him. The next day, she returns to her family home to visit her sick father. To help her father survive the fight between Kil-jong and the Kim clan, she wants to use the ledger to ask Kil-jong to spare him. Kil-jong says that if her father helps gather evidence of the Kim clan's crimes, he will handle him leniently. The queen demands a promise that her father's life will be protected. Kil-jong agrees. They reach a deal. To end the fight quickly, the queen decides to intimidate the elders of the Kim clan. She straps on a sword and stands outside the palace. When Kim Jo-gun walks toward her, she throws the sword to him and tells him to draw it. Kim Jo-gun says he does not fight women. The queen laughs. Is he looking down on her, or is he just afraid? Forced by her provocation, Kim Jo-gun draws his sword. At the same time, Hwa-jin can no longer bear the weight of her guilt. She tells Kil-jong the truth about the ledger. Kil-jong is deeply disappointed, and their relationship breaks. Meanwhile, Kil-jong starts moving against the Kim clan. The ministers grow anxious, afraid they may be next. Kil-jong also records the modern military knowledge the queen has taught him. The queen is happy to see it. Then Kil-jong suddenly turns serious and almost kisses her, but the queen feels nauseated. Soon, the truth is revealed. She is pregnant. Everyone rushes to congratulate her. Kil-jong is overjoyed and pulls her into his arms. The queen sends everyone out and explodes in private. Kil-jong cannot understand why she is angry. Court Lady Choi explains that Her Majesty is not angry. She is too happy. Somehow, Kil-jong believes this weak excuse. To the queen, the situation is completely absurd. She cannot understand how she can be pregnant, and there is no solution. News of the pregnancy spreads through the palace like a celebration. Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon and Queen Dowager Jo soon arrive with aggressive energy. The queen instantly pretends to be weak. Jo gives her a red envelope. Inside is a talisman, supposedly to protect the royal child. The queen does not believe a word of it and gives it back. Then she asks Hong Yan to bring a blanket and pretends to vomit in front of both elder women. Her father sends a mountain of gifts after hearing the news, which only makes the queen's heart more chaotic. The restrictions are even worse. The queen cannot do this, cannot eat that, and most painfully, she cannot even eat ramyeon freely. Every day becomes prenatal education. Wake up, prenatal education. Before bed, prenatal education. The final blow is that the pear blossom wine she waited so long for is gone. The queen breaks down crying. To make her feel better, Kil-jong takes her to a villa for fresh air. The queen is not very interested at first, but Kil-jong is happy, so she goes along. Kil-jong tells her he will work hard to cut out the corrupt parts of the country so their child can inherit a better kingdom. That line suddenly gives the queen a new thought. If her child becomes king one day, then she could become the supreme queen dowager. The idea excites her immediately. That night, she becomes action-oriented and starts writing a prenatal diary. But Queen Dowager Jo begins another scheme. She orders court maids to spread rumors that the child in the queen's womb is not Kil-jong's. Wherever people gather, gossip grows fast. Soon, the rumor spreads across the palace. To destroy the rumor, the queen stages an exaggerated display with Kil-jong. The palace servants are so embarrassed they turn away, but Kil-jong says that if they are acting, they should act completely. Their absurd performance and loud explanations leave the concubines both embarrassed and intensely curious. Meanwhile, Hwa-jin, hearing of the queen's pregnancy, finally gives up. She asks Kil-jong to depose her and send her out of the palace. Kil-jong refuses at first because a deposed concubine would be mocked by the world and forced to live almost like a nun. But Hwa-jin insists. In the palace, she lost her true self. Now she only wants a simple life. Kil-jong has no choice but to agree. When the queen hears about it, she feels sad. Hwa-jin was the first woman she liked after arriving in this world. But there is more trouble. The rumors do not fade. They spread all the way to the ministers. Sunwon sees a chance to remove the queen. In the name of protecting the family's honor, she orders Kim Beong-in to personally kill her. Kim Beong-in, who loves So-yong, cannot do it. He tells Kil-jong the plan and says there is only one way to save the queen. Kil-jong must personally go eliminate the Donghak rebels. That will make Sunwon spare the queen and also give him enough prestige to crush the rumors. To protect the queen and their child, Kil-jong has no choice. He looks at the sleeping queen and says goodbye. Then he puts on armor, mounts his horse, and leaves, even though he knows this may be a trap set by Sunwon and the Kim clan. The queen is heartbroken, but she understands that Kil-jong must have a reason he cannot avoid. Just as Kil-jong expects, his guards reveal their true nature on a quiet mountain road. Kim Beong-in rides forward. The woman he loves has been taken by the king, and he wants to kill Kil-jong with his own hands. Kil-jong kicks him away and runs. Kim Beong-in and his men chase him to a cliff. With no other way out, Kil-jong jumps. Kim Beong-in rushes to look, but Kil-jong has disappeared into the water below. His life or death is unknown. Back at the palace, the queen suddenly feels movement in her belly and is shocked. It has only been a little over a month. Then she thinks of Kil-jong. Since he left, she has not been able to sleep. To deal with missing him, she keeps eating. Court lady, Choi, and Hongyeon worry about her, but the queen blames the baby's appetite. When she goes out to walk after eating, she reaches the lake. Memories of Kil-jong flood back, and she panics. She runs to the pavilion, but every corner of the palace is full of him. There is no escaping the memories. She even starts missing him so much that she talks as if she is posting on social media. The concubines invite her to play games, but no matter what they act out, the queen answers with Kil-jong's name. To stop herself from crying, she arms herself emotionally. Then court lady Choi rushes in with terrible news. The queen cannot believe it. Soon, word spreads across the palace. King Kil-jong is dead, but the queen refuses to believe it. The queen secretly goes to examine the body. When she touches it, she immediately realizes something. This body is not Kil-jong. Back in her chambers, she tells court lady Choi and Hongyeon. Now they finally believe the king is still alive. The queen paints her lips dramatically and makes herself look like a half-dead widow. Today, she is going to put on a performance. She cries so loudly that everyone nearby is frightened. But the moment she enters her room, her expression changes completely. That night, she takes the luggage she prepared in advance, straps on a bow, and secretly leaves the palace alone to search for Kil-jong. Meanwhile, Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon cannot wait to announce Kil-jong's death to the world. She restores Kim Jwa-gun to his old position and chooses an easily controlled new king, planning the enthronement ceremony in 4 days. The queen searches for a full day and night. Just as she is about to rest, a group of guards catches up. Hongyeon pulls her away and tells her to run. The queen keeps calling for court lady Choi, but the guards continue chasing. Hongyeon hides the queen in a safe place and disguises herself as the queen to draw the guards away. Just as the queen reaches for her bow, she senses someone above her. It is Kim Beong-in. Terrified, she runs. Kim Beong-in seems determined to kill her, but when he sees So-yong's familiar face, memories of the real Kim So-yong calling out to him flash through his mind. In the end, he cannot do it. When the guards arrive, Kim Beong-in lifts his weapon and stands in front of her. The queen does not understand. Kim Beong-in says that as long as she still carries So-yong's memories, he will not let her die. The queen has no choice but to trust him. He fights through the guards and helps her escape. During their flight, a masked assassin suddenly appears. Kim Beong-in shields the queen behind him. The assassin's attacks are vicious and aimed to kill. Because Kim Beong-in must protect the queen while fighting, he cannot move freely. The queen is slashed. Kim Beong-in blocks another strike with his body, grabbing the assassin's sword with his bare hand. The blade still reaches the queen, and he forces it away. The assassin stabs Kim Beong-in in the side with a small blade. The queen kicks the attacker, giving Kim Beong-in a chance to stand, but he is badly wounded and no match for the assassin for long. The queen throws a rock and hits the target, giving them a moment to run. But Kim Beong-in's wound is serious. He knows he cannot keep going. He gives the queen the signed list of those plotting treason, hoping it will protect her. Then he touches her head one last time and tells her to hide. The queen does not want to abandon him. She tries to cover the blood on the ground, but he stops her and tells her to go. The assassin catches up. Kim Beong-in stands in the way. The queen knows staying will only make her a burden, so she runs with everything she has. Behind her, Kim Byong-in dies, protecting her. The queen sees it happen but can do nothing except keep running. When pursuers almost catch her, she hides behind a tree and holds her breath. The assassin senses something and slowly approaches, but another guard shouts from a distance, and he runs the other way. Only then can she breathe. After everything that happened, she completely breaks down. Night falls. Exhausted and hopeless, she can no longer walk or struggle. Then someone approaches with a torch. It is Kyo-jong. After falling from the cliff, he was rescued by the Donghak rebels. The queen rushes into his arms and cries. Kyo-jong takes her back to the mountain camp, where she finds Hong Yan and the injured court lady Choi. After the queen cries enough, she asks how court lady Choi survived. Court lady Choi says she was lucky. She slipped at the crucial moment and dodged the attack, only getting scratched. That luck is almost unbelievable. Meanwhile, Royal Chef Man-bok has been deeply depressed while worrying about Court Lady Choi. Before leaving, Court Lady Choi had confessed her feelings to him. It was the first time anyone had confessed to Man-bok, and he did not know how to react. She said that in the lonely palace, simply meeting someone like him and sharing loneliness was already enough. Man-bok actually likes her too, and now he regrets not saying it earlier. Without Court Lady Choi, life in the palace feels meaningless. He decides to quit and search for her outside the palace. But before he can find her, he is captured and almost beaten. Luckily, the queen appears in time. Before Man-bok can even kneel, he sees Court Lady Choi, the person he has missed day and night. He is so emotional that he falls forward. Court Lady Choi breaks the ropes with her bare hands. When Man-bok reveals that he has been carrying the gift she gave him, she becomes shy. Soon, the group discusses their battle plan. The queen knows Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon loves food. No matter how heavily guarded the palace is, the gate for delivering ingredients will not be closed. After discussing everything, they decide to attack their way back into the palace. On the road, they find Kim Byong-in's body. To repay him for saving her life, the queen buries him with her own hands. Then the counterattack begins. Smoke bombs fly over the palace wall one after another. Outside the gate, Court Lady Choi gathers her strength and throws with shocking force, then proudly touches her nose as if showing off. Next, Man-bok appears with 2 knives. He fights left and right with surprisingly smooth movements. At the same time, the queen and Kyo-jong stop a vegetable delivery cart. After a little persuasion and bribery, the driver lets them hide in the cargo. Thanks to Man-bok and Court Lady Choi's diversion, Kyo-jong and the queen enter the palace successfully. Kyo-jong finds his personal eunuch, who finally realizes the king and queen are still alive. After changing clothes, Kyo-jong and the queen immediately look several levels more powerful. Guards rush out, and Kyo-jong draws his sword to fight. One guard throws a blade toward the queen, but she twists away and dodges it, then strikes him and holds a knife to his neck. Before the man can speak, a horn sounds. Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon, afraid Kyo-jong may return alive, has moved up the enthronement ceremony. Kyo-jong becomes anxious, but the queen remains calm. Before leaving the palace, she secretly summoned Kim Hwan and had him steal the royal seal. Kim Hwan did not know where to hide it, so he gave it to Kyo-jong's allies in prison while pretending nothing happened. At the final stage of the enthronement ceremony, the new king cannot be crowned without the seal. The queen's move has stopped the ceremony. Kyo-jong and the queen head toward the main hall, but there are strangely no guards. While they are suspicious, the queen spots someone on the roof. An assassin fires. The queen takes the shot meant for Kyo-jong and is hit in the waist. She falls slowly to the ground. The assassin fires again and hits Kyo-jong in the chest. The assassin thinks she has succeeded, but then Hong Baeol-gam, the skilled marksman, and Prince Yong-pyong arrive. They chase her down, corner her, and finally kill her with a gunshot and a blade. On the ground, the queen struggles to reach Kyo-jong's hand. At that critical moment, Bong-hwan's soul returns to the 21st century. Back in modern Korea, he is deeply worried about Kyo-jong. He escapes the hospital and rushes to a bookstore, where he finds the annals of the Joseon dynasty and looks up Kyo-jong's record. At the moment Bong-hwan returns to the present, the real Kim So-yong returns to her own body. Kyo-jong survives because he is wearing the bulletproof vest the queen helped design. Before he and So-yong can recover, Kim So-yong walks toward them with a sword. The clever queen immediately pulls out her hairpin and stabs Kim So-yong in the leg. To protect the queen and their child, K&J stands through sheer willpower. He swings his sword with everything he has and finally defeats Kim So-yong. But K&J does not kill him. He wants Kim So-yong to live painfully, like a walking corpse. K&J knows the burden on his shoulders. He leaves the queen with Hongbail-gam and heads to the main hall. When Sunwon sees K&J alive, her jaw almost drops. One official even rolls his eyes and faints. In the end, K&J wins. Everything is settled. Afterward, K&J rushes to see the queen. The royal physician says she lost too much blood and is in critical condition. But after surviving one near-death experience already, the queen's will is strong. With the blessing of main character luck, she wakes up the next morning. The child in her womb is safe too. K&J holds her hand tightly and cries like a fool. Soon, the queen marches to Grand Queen Dowager Sunwon with fierce confidence. Sunwon backs away in fear. The queen tells her that in a few days she will be moved to the cold palace. Until then, she must remain in that room. Sunwon is furious, but the queen no longer cares. Back in her chambers, it seems that because Bong-hwan's soul stayed inside So-yong for so long, So-yong has absorbed some of his habits and boldness. Queen Dowager Jo is exiled for spreading rumors. Corrupt and treasonous officials receive the punishment they deserve. Everything finally settles. The queen's father visits with piles of gifts. In the royal kitchen, Man-bok makes ramyun. Court Lady Choi walks in and says she wants a bowl too. Man-bok sways toward her with confidence and pulls her into his arms. What happens next is left to the imagination. In the modern world, Jang Bong-hwan reads in the historical records that K&J survived. Only then can he relax. After crossing time, he has experienced many things he never expected. He also helped K&J change history. His own fate changes too. Mayor Han, who framed him in the present, is arrested by the police. The only question is whether going from man to woman and back to man will leave any psychological after effects. Back in Joseon, K&J tries to review state documents, but he cannot concentrate. His mind is full of the queen. He decides to visit her. Coincidentally, the queen misses him too and goes to find him. They keep missing each other, walking back and forth from morning until night. Finally, the queen thinks of the lake, and there she finds K&J. The two hold each other tightly. Kim So-yong has found her true self again. K&J still feels as if something is missing, though he cannot explain what it is. That missing piece is Bong-hwan's strange, reckless soul, which changed the palace, changed the king, and changed So-yong's life. But even after Bong-hwan returns to the future, the courage he left behind remains. K&J and So-yong begin a new era together, no longer controlled by the people who use them as puppets. And Bong-hwan returns to his own world, knowing that somewhere in history, the king and queen survived because he had once lived as her. That is all for today's drama recap. If you enjoyed this story, do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like, comment, and share. I will see you in the next one.